Hello there. So, you want to join in on the party, do you? You want to have a good time? Well, I can't let you do that just yet. I need to ask a few questions. Do you like role-playing games? You do? Good. Do you like to play your own characters? Yes? Okay, perfect. Then there's one last question. Do you like to be brutally violated? No. Well, perfect. That makes you more than eligible to join our game. Oh, what? You have second thoughts all of a sudden? You don't want to join? Oh, good, good. That just makes it all the more interesting. Now roll Circumference. Hello everyone, Freeman here. Welcome to today's video, where we will be talking about possibly one of the worst or greatest role-playing games of all time. F.A.T.A.L, from another land, another time. Before I turn this video as dirty as it's gonna be, I'd first like to just appreciate the amount of fan art I've been receiving recently. You're all wonderful. Links in the description. First off, what kind of role-playing game is F.A.T.A.L? Well, take D&D, strip everything that's good from it, turn it to low fantasy, and then you'll pretty much have it. Oh, well, not entirely. We forgot to add the copious amounts of violence, sex, and snuggle struggles. I know the real word, I just don't want to get the D from YouTube. The game was also designed with European nationalism in mind, meaning that any nation that lies east, west, or south of the European borders doesn't exist. Take also into consideration that this is during the 1300s, mixing everything together and you get a nice blend of diseases, inbreeding, and a lot of dead corpses literally everywhere. What a time to be alive. And along with the setting for our world, we also get a name for our world, and the name that the author has chosen is Neveria. More like never. Cause I'm never gonna understand how the fuck this guy managed to sit down and write this book to begin with. Oh, speaking of which, if you were to get this book, you don't need to get any other book ever again. Forget all the new editions of D&D being pumped out with supplement books that you have to buy separately. For now, you have one book with everything. So, how long would such a tome be, you think? Around 500 pages? Maybe 700 if you are being extreme? Well, 977 pages later, and I feel like I want to throw up. And no, I'm not kidding. It's 977 pages in this entire book, and it's not a pleasant read. Well, you didn't come here to listen to me ramble on about how amazing this book is. So, let me instead show you how amazing this book is. Let's begin with the races of this world. In this book, we are blessed with 8 types of terrible, meaning we have about 8 species, all of which have, or at least some of them have, subspecies in amongst each other. Frankly, they are all unpleasant, and we will cover each and every one of them to different degrees, because they're all different degrees of amazing. First off, humans. Humans are about as standard as you get them. Very flexible and very adaptable, but not really good at anything particular. However, they are renowned as being one of the typical species that aren't liked by many of the other species, probably because we don't metagame to the same disgusting degree as them. And don't you worry, I will show you an example of metagaming later. Also, as a rule, you can only be white, set of course by this lovely author. You cannot be anything else other than Caucasian, and if some amongst you is about to rise up and say, "That's resist," don't worry. There's something for you as well. This game was very progressive for its time as well, introducing pronouns as a necessary concept for you to understand. So, they made an entire section around it. Go read that. Peasant. Next up are the dwarves. Among the dwarves you have 3 different kinds. White dwarves, which are pure good, black dwarves, which are pure evil, and brown dwarves, which can be either way depending on where the pendulum swings. Black dwarves hate humans. They live under their roads in massive castles and try to raid their most traveled roads. If you manage to steal a black dwarf's weapon, you will be cursed with misfortune as by the weapon's own enchantments. A very simple way to ensure that you who steal and try to get loot will be fucked over for the pillaging. The only real physical difference to that of a normal dwarf and that of a black dwarf is that the black dwarf, for some reason, have the feet of crows. The Black Dwarfs have some really strange choice of names. Amongst these names are Dvergar, Svartalfar. What the fuck? White dwarfs are the typical dwarf you'd find if you were to read Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. They are jolly, kind and happy, and in the summer night they prefer to dance naked or turned into butterflies in the moonlight. The typical names of white dwarfs are Gerlacus and Godskarlkus. Last on the list of Luddites is the brown dwarf. Brown dwarfs differ from their cousins by not going into any form of brown dwarven communities, as there aren't any brown dwarven communities. Instead, what they do is that they seek out human families when they reach young adulthood and asks to live with them, where typically they work during the night and sleep during the day. If brown dwarfs take a liking to their human families, they might protect them and even offer them some treasures. If they don't, they will cause trouble and bad dreams. As for overlook of simplicity of the dwarfs, it appears that white dwarfs good, black dwarfs bad, brown ones uncertain. You know what? I'm starting to doubt the author's motives. Next up are elves. The elves are very common to their stereotypes with few differences. Light elves are regarded as very beautiful but shy creatures and are the typical target for trafficking. The dark elves, being considered too ugly for trafficking, were instead bullied on F.A.T.A.L. Due to this, they are now very angry and seek to start sex cults to get anything done whatsoever. They typically like to wear wardrobes created from human skin. Kobolds are manlets who wish they could be dominant, but due to their stature, they're instead bullied. Because of this, they start slaving camps where they force every single one that is taller than themselves to walk on all fours. Ogres are separated into 4 different kinds, where the first ogre is generally not that interesting, the second one being a cliff ogre, usually just like to fling people off their cliffs. The Gurgash are best compared to the ogres from the old world in Warhammer fantasy. Lastly, and unarguably the most disgusting one, is the Kinderfresser, which is the ogre that prefers to eat human children, and preferably good children, giving you an in-game reason as to why you can be an absolute asshole as a child. Because if you're a good little boy or girl, the ogres will come and eat you. Next up are the trolls. The first troll is the Borbitingaran. Fuck off. They like to thrash around those whom they kill in order to make them more tender. The hill troll have large black claws that resemble obsidian in sharpness. They use these claws not only to flay their enemies, but to also gut them so that they can feast on their tender organs, leaving muscles on the side because those are the equivalent of Brussels sprouts. They prefer to eat the brain last, as that's considered a dessert. The subterranean troll is the only troll that really differentiates from a normal troll, in that they do actually not want to kill all humans. The subterranean trolls instead worship the moon, violate trees, and prefer to steal human children, women, and also treasure. Unlike that of male trolls, the female trolls in this particular branch are considered both beautiful and extremely vile on the same time. They also in turn prefer to mate with human women, Anakim, or the ogres. These trolls can turn into stone from sunlight and turn to cucks from rejection. And bugbears? Well, I'd prefer not to talk about the bugbears. Now that you know about all the lesser races in the world, it's time for you to know about the true chads of this universe. The Anakim. No, not that guy. The other guy. That's right. This is where metagaming in F.A.T.A.L begins truly. The Anakim are a crossbreed between humans and demons that managed to have a child. The offspring became known as the Anakim. The Anakim are one of the most notorious species in the entire book. The reason as to why I'm saying this is not only because it covers the cover of the fucking book, but it also has a trait system where you have to roll D100s to determine what traits your Anakim will be getting. You might be lucky and roll 43, in which case you'll get a force missile that you can fire once per day. You might roll something entirely inconsequential, like 49, in which case you will not cast a shadow when you walk. Or you could have it interesting and roll something that makes you cast some of the dumbest spells or have the most ridiculous curses. Let me cover a few for you. Let's say you roll a 55, for example, and gain the spell Seal Orifice. Let's say you put some poison in the enemy's porridge, making sure that he's going to have to go to the shitter real soon. Then, as he's about to go due to bowel movements, you then snap your fingers, and voila, you've sealed his asshole shut. He will now die from involuntary constipation due to diarrhea. Roll an 8, every single baby that is ever near you will start to cry immediately. If the Anakim touches the baby, it'll have a 75% chance of pissing itself, 50% chance of shitting itself, and a 25% chance to vomit. Thereafter, the Anakim may touch the child without such occurrence for 1 day. This is an even worse trait to have if you rolled 1, which makes sure that anyone you ever have sex with will be knocked up on first attempt, or you will be knocked up on first attempt, regardless of what you roll. Oh, the joys of unwanted parenting. Roll 20 and you manage to have the stench of shit all around your character. Roll 40 and you'll instead smell of sex. You think we're done? We are far from done. Let me show you a few more. Roll a 25 and all your ejaculative fluids will be turned to blood instead of what it usually is. Roll a 14 and you'll be addicted to penile or vaginal carrion, which is like combining vor with necrophilia. I'm not gonna go further into that. Oh, speaking of vor, roll 57 for that. If you roll a 72, your Anakin can fart as loud as thunder. This fart allows you to damage the enemy for 1d4, and you can also be able to stun them if you are lucky, meaning that your farts are literally lethal. And this is how you play metagame in F.A.T.A.L. Alternatively, if you feel particularly heartless, you can play the Anakim on Slanesh mode, playing with every single trait, negative or positive, on your character. There's 100 of them. Good luck in keeping track. If you think this is uncomfortable or funny, don't worry, it's not getting better from here, because now we are going into the sexual features page. These pages are so grossly descriptive that it makes modern-day MMOs look childish and underdeveloped. Here have things like areola diameter, cup size, nipple length, tongue length, and my probably biggest favorite, anal circumference. There's some hilarity to be had where you as a nymphomaniac could have a circumference reaching up to 30 inches. However, it does not go from young adult all the way up to master. Frighteningly, it goes all the way down. All the way down. You know what? I'm starting to doubt this offer all the way down to the possibility of jail time. You know what? I think I will not continue to read this book. The only people I can imagine playing this game are the same people who likes to read the books of gore. So, unless you're that or a nihilist, I can't openly recommend this game. Well, this video is long overdue, so I'm not gonna keep you here much longer. Last thing I want to mention is the fact that Byron Hall, the creator of this game, has pretty much disappeared off the face of the earth. We don't know much about where he went off to, and I've tried to find any form of information relative to him, but I've not been able to find anything. All I do know is that the copyright for F.A.T.A.L games went out in 2004. Whether or whether not the guy in question and the company still exist is unknown, but as far as I can tell anyways, it doesn't seem to be in operation to this day. And with that, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe and share the videos around, as it helps me a lot. I now also have a Patreon, so if you'd like to submit your dollars to me, link is in the description. And for the Patreons I do have, thank you very much for your support. You're all wonderful. See you in the next video.